Welcome,
Hang
one
on, I
and
cannot.
all.
There we go. Okay,
Say
we're good.
hello, Jarrell.
Hello, everybody.
Okay, this is going to be post time skip. We're going to have a chill conversation where we're going to agree on everything I say. Am I right or am I right?
You're very correct.
Return to Saba Odi. So I know post time skip far less than I know pre time skip. I've been through pre time skip probably 3 or 4 times. I've only been through post time skip twice, so, at most like half that. So, but Return to Saba, I still know it pretty well. So, Return to Saba Odi. 5 chapters, just the Straw Hats joining up before getting to Fishman Island. Jarrell, what are your thoughts on this definitely lovely arc?
Return to Sabaody is an absolutely fantastic arc because, like you said, we get the return of the Straw Hats and everything that goes along with that. Um, it has been a minute, just a wee little bit, since we viewed this wonderful masterpiece. Could you go over some things that would give me a slight refresher?
Yes, so notably, it's just everyone coming back from their
Their
cover
individual
stories,
journeys, yeah,
their 2 year time skip journeys. So
their training
Nami was
arcs.
in Wazaria, Sanji was being assaulted and trying to be forcibly feminized. Zoro trained with Mihawk. Chopper trained with cavemen that were like intelligent doctors. Usopp was on My 400 Pound Life. Um, who else is there? Nami was on
Obian,
Wazaria. Brooke was being a lovely music star, and he ended
the
his
Sun
tour
King.
as Soul King on Sabaody at the time skip. So like his last concert was at the meeting place whenever they agreed to meet up, and then Frankie was at Vegapunk's laboratory building himself a new body, and then of course Robin was hanging out with Dragon. Flipping. I wonder if that ever comes back. Am I right or am I
Yeah,
right?
that's crazy. Who's
Who's
Dragon?
Dragon
Oh,
again? And then Luffy was obviously training with Rayleigh. So we
the
see
Dark
there's a
King.
couple there's a couple notable lovely things about this arc. We see the power of Luffy. We see the fake Straw Hats. We hear the song "New World" from Soul King in the anime, and we see like I don't. It's just it's good to be back. Like
It's good to be
you
back,
spent
right?
like 2 years in the manga away from the Straw Hats. Now everyone's finally reunited. What a wonderful day, to quote a certain ape. So yeah, so in many ways, it's good to be back.
Now, correct me if I'm wrong, but
But
was
like,
doesn't this also take place during the fan letter as well?
see, here's the thing: One Piece fan letter, yes. So One Piece fan letter, frankly, adds to this so much because I do kind of consider it to be part of Return to Sabaody. In which case, it makes it infinitely cooler than if it was like, in my opinion, without fan letter. To skip to the end, it probably goes below Orange Town. But like with fan letter, I'm thinking it might go above Amazon Lily.
So, what is that at the top of 15?
15 is Logue Town.
Little Town, and right under that is Little Garden, and then Thriller Bark. Okay. Um, I think that I personally would put it above Little Garden simply because for me, with the fan letter, like you said, it's incredible. But the feeling, it was a much shorter time for me in the anime watch because, of course, the anime has already been past this point. So I was able to binge all of the training arc. I was able to binge all of the Summit War, everything like that. But even still, just the feeling of having the Straw Hats back together after the disaster they found at the hands of Kuma, it was an incredible sight to see, and it made me feel very triumphant. And I feel like that's the essence of One Piece in a sense. And so, seeing the Straw Hats get back on track for their journey to find the One Piece and for their captain to become king of the pirates is really, in a way, breathtaking to see.
Right below Little Garden, you say, or right above, you say.
Right above Little Garden, I would say.
I'm willing to put it there. I don't have a major I don't have a problem with that. Okay,
All
pretty cool. Um,
right.
Fishman Island. Okay, so as we all know, it goes right here. Okay, so Punk Hazard. So Punk Hazard is all about law, and it's all no. Okay, so I'll stop this joke right now. Um, I hate to be that guy, but like everyone gets to be that guy because Fishman Island kind of sucks sometimes.
Okay,
Um,
let me preface this for those of you, whoever this video finds. This is the original Fishman Island, not the remake Fishman Island. Neither of us have seen the remake Fishman
yes,
Island.
I have not seen the re-edit of Fishman Island. I've only seen the bad version of Fishman Island, the version that goes on for way too long and also has kind of crappy animation sometimes.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Fishman Island, Fishman Island. What a time to be alive.
What a time to be
It
alive.
is. It's a lot of things. It is Horty Jones. It is Vander Decken, the pedophile.
Literally.
Literally, he's like 6 years old, dude. Flipping this actual gross fish man. Um, but it's also like Fisher Tiger and Queen Otohime, and it's Jimbei giving his blood, but it's also Sanji with nosebleeds and almost dying from excessant nosebleeds, and just keeps on going. But then it's also Poseidon and Joy Boy. But then it's also like
Very long.
very long, the original, and also it's not very satisfying fights for the Straw Hats. Like we don't really see them actually. It kind of feels like they don't actually try in this fight. It just feels like they actually absolutely dog walk the competition, no diff them, and that's kind of frustrating to see. That's not very satisfying. Like it's kind of satisfying in the way that like, oh, I glitched out the game and it one shot the boss, but like doing that like 6 times in a row, it just kind of feels. You're just like, oh, okay, so this really isn't like what am I supposed to be
Yeah.
tense about?
If
It
you allow me
lacks
to cut in for a
tension.
second.
Yeah, yeah. Keep
I
going,
would
please.
so the point that you made, it lacks tension, is a very good way to put it, because just if I could give an example, seeing the Straw Hats on the return to Sabaody and what they were capable of was incredible. But the problem with the original edit of Fishman Island is you can kind of tell by the way that it's written that they're just stronger, but because of the way it was written, they also tried to make it seem interesting, so they made it seem like dire situations at some point, and then the Straw Hats would go on to no diff, and then something crazy, and then Horty would just take infinitely more pills, and then it's like, oh my god, he's so much stronger, and then he would just go back to get no diff again. It was this like endless cycle, and it was like that for every fight, to the point where like the villains were literally having to OD to keep up with the Straw Hats,
Yeah.
but like the Straw Hats were just like, oh, okay, we'll just fight at a little bit more of our real strength. So like it was an attempt to make it interesting, which made it even less interesting. And that's why I wasn't the biggest fan of it.
Yeah.
If
So
they were
like
going to no diff the conversation, they should have just went ahead and no diffed it in an even more epic fashion.
I'm
That's
gonna
what I think.
I'm gonna put this at the bottom. No, I'm gonna put this right above Sarah Village.
Right above Syrup Village. I'll put it above Romance Dawn, because it does give quite a bit of lore,
It
and
does
Fisher
get
Tiger and
have
Otohime are incredible.
Fisher Tiger and Queen Otohime. Like that's the big selling point right there.
And
Um
Jinbei giving blood is like also like a huge like world theme. So like I would put it above. It's just the combat aspects and the
but like what's so bad
like
about Romance Dawn that it deserves to be below Fishman Island?
um the fact that everything that I feel like that everything that happens in Romance Dawn isn't as like in the now
Kobe
and the direct impact. Like I
meeting
really do
Zoro?
feel like, yeah, no, I feel like the moments in Fishman, because like meetings, we didn't know the scope back in Romance Dawn, really, like truly, like we do in Fishman Island. In my opinion, learning about Poseidon has more impact than Zoro joining the crew. Does that make sense? Because we don't know who Zoro is in Romance Dawn. He's a cool guy.
Yeah, but like that repercussion, like again, we didn't know what fan letter was whenever we initially watched Sabaody, but right now Sabaody's sitting above Little Garden.
But Sabaody is also incredible by itself. I thought Sabaody was great before fan letter.
Because you watched the One Piece. See, here's the problem: is that ultimately we're going to run into this problem time and again, which it's not your fault. I'm glad that you got to experience a better life than I did, but at the same time, I had to sit through 10 episodes of this.
Okay, I see what you're saying.
10 so episodes at that point, of fake
some of our
tension.
Opinions might be.
This is going to be a spicy little thing.
Yeah. I mean, I'll concede because like. If we're talking about scope as well, you could also think about it in the other sense that like, oh, Zoro joined the crew, like he's the captain's right hand, like
repercussions. Yeah.
That's fair enough.
Personally, I'm just gonna I will fight a little bit for below Romance Dawn, but you know, Syrup Village still deserves the bottom. So
okay. Yeah.
So I'm sure it's gonna be smooth sailing from here on out. Let me tell you, Punk Hazard. It's kind of boring.
A little boring, yeah. Even my One Piece.
Even the One Piece is kind of boring. Like you have a lot of switching personalities. You have more Sanji nosebleeds. You have.
We didn't even meet the best character, Gangster Gastino, yet.
You have Kiemon. Kiemon, that's great. You got Momonosuke. That's a random pink dragon. I wonder if that's ever going to come back. That's great. You have Caesar Clown, one of my favorite villains in One Piece. Just such a terrible guy. Just the worst. The worst type of guy. But he's got a great laugh. You got giving kids drugs and calling it candy like a pedophile would. You got just terrible guy. The worst. The terrible.
Worst guy.
You got Law. You got Smoker.
We're going to see Smoker again, yeah.
You got to see Tashigi. Too much of Tashigi, if you know what I mean.
If you know what I'm...
You got to see... Yeah. But you have Vertigo, voiced by my guy, flippin' Guy McGee, my favorite voice actor. You have...
Aomine?
Yeah, he's voiced by Aomine. Such a minor character. I wish that he got a bigger role, but like at the same time, he's in it, so that's cool. You've got Law's plan with Luffy to take down Kaido. Like, you've got the reveal that Joker, this guy Joker, is Doflamingo. You've got, like, and that Doflamingo is, like, secretly behind this whole operation in concert with Kaido, and that, like, to take down Kaido, we're gonna have to take down Doflamingo. And it's, like, it begins to show you the arc, like, the trajectory of the what ends up being, like, the rest of One Piece up to this point. And it's crazy, like, looking back on it, the fact that it all started in this arc that's, like, kind of boring. Like, at this point, like, I consider that Fishman Island, this, and part of Dressrosa to be a bit of the low point of One Piece, personally. And I know some people are screaming at me, like, Dressrosa's peak, what are you talking about? But, like, I'm talking, like, anime-wise. Like, animation, pacing, just... It feels like Toei is kind of sleeping at the wheel for me. So, for that reason, I'm probably going to put Punk Hazard right below Little Garden.
Okay, I'm fine with that.
Okay. Because it's still got some stuff.
It's got some stuff, but Punk Hazard wasn't crazy for me either.
It's just like, like, it's got some stuff, but, like, not a ton of stuff.
Yeah.
Also, like, again, Luffy just absolutely no diffs. Caesar, like, no anything to it.
All right.
But, you know, you also have, like, you got some Devil Fruit lore in there. You've got some cool Navy stuff going on.
Yeah, I wonder why half the island is ice and half the island is molten lava.
Dude, it's actually the coolest place. That's actually the coolest reason why.
I actually wonder why it's called Punk Hazard.
Dude, I wonder. Dude, damn,
That's crazy.
that's crazy.
I don't know.
All right, super non-controversial time though.
All right.
Dressrosa. So to preface for the audience, we are going to have a problem here.
There is going to probably
There's
be
going to
problems.
be a problem here because I mainly remember my experience about Dressrosa from the anime, which is watching someone like Bellamy jump around a room for like 5 episodes straight and everything just being incredibly slow, everything being a little bit bloated, everything being a little bit like just not great, and also the animation hitting like some of the lowest lows it's ever hit. Like shaky frame of still animation happening with screaming in the background, like nothing. So it's so couple
So,
things. Let's before we get into where we are going to place this. What if we ultimately like prefaced and ends up like we ultimately concede? Like I don't know. We'll get to it. But to back up, like a couple dresses in this Rosa. Dressrosa is the island of passion. Is the island of living dolls. It is the place where Don Quixote do Flamingo reigns king. It is basically what would happen if Caesar, not Caesar, Crocodile got his way in Alabasta. We get to see like there's heavy Alabasta themes in in Dressrosa. So that's why you have like the Don Quixote family mirroring Baroque works and a lot of their powers mirroring the Baroque works. Like you have the kilo fruit and like the other fruit that's like the weight the pound fruit like but obviously the kilo fruit is just like a bigger better version of that fruit and whatnot. So you have positives and negatives. On the positive side, you have someone like Kiros. You have someone like Rebecca's personality. You have someone like you have Sabo. You have the games. You have uh, Gear Forth. You have Khorasan. Uh, you have Law's whole backstory. You have Don Quixote do Flamingo being a member of being a celestial dragon. You
the
have
Heavenly Demon.
the heavenly demon himself. You have so much to it. You have Frankie. You have the Tontadas. You have all of the
God
story of
Usopp.
dolls. You have God Usopp. Like, you've got so much there. But then on the other hand, you have something like everything about Senior Pink except for his backstory. You have something like just some of the more lackluster fights. Like it's in the anime, in the original cut of the anime, it felt like it went on a little bit too long. And then you just have like overall like just terrible pacing. But at the same time, you have the Grand Fleet. You have every aspect of the Grand Fleet. So
Bartolomeo.
Barto, dude, like so much great stuff is in there. It's just throughout my experience, I experienced having to trudge through bad pacing. And it was at this
Might I add,
what?
this is also a point to where the Straw Hats split up
Yes.
to go pursue different things, story beats. I will say that I think we got the best crew here in Dressrosa. I just really like all of the crew that joined us here in Dressrosa.
I definitely feel like the crew is more active in Dressrosa, except for Robin, than Whole Cake Island.
That's an L, but
Yeah.
Robin's Robin.
Robin's great, but at the same time, all she did was like stand next to Rebecca. Also, side point: Rebecca's a 15-year-old. Oda, why did you dress her in that?
It
Neither here nor
was
there.
meant to make a statement,
Yeah,
quite literally, actually.
yeah. Well, I mean, I'm not gonna.
You
I'm not
you
gonna
you
comment.
feeling how you are is exactly what you were supposed to feel.
Yeah, that doesn't make. Yeah, but like at the same time, okay, I prefer to not feel like this. You know what I mean?
I mean, that's
So
very true, but as a writer, Oda accomplished his mission.
yes, that is true. Oda, thank you for making me want to read less One Piece. I appreciate that. Um, you accomplished your goal. So talking, I'm gonna say what where I think it should rank, and you can tell me where you think it should rank, and then we can obviously debate and discuss. Talking about
Of
it,
course.
there's obviously a lot of positives that I listed off that I do hold in high regard. I hold it in high regard, but that's because I'm lifting it, and there's just a weight at the bottom of what I'm lifting, and that is all of the pacing problems that I had to deal with. So for that reason, I think I might place it below Alabasta, but above Arlong Park.
That is actually much higher than I was expecting. I personally, disclaimer, had an absolutely amazing time watching the One Piece edit of Dressrosa. It was really when I started to get into the swing of things after Fishman and after Punk Hazard. It was kind of like, oh,
Like, why am I watching
but
this right now? Yeah.
when Dressrosa hit, I was like, okay, we are cooking, like straight up.
Don
And
Quixote
so
Doflamingo is probably the best villain that One Piece has ever had. To be
yes,
totally fair, like
he gives speeches. He's a terrible person. He is technically right, but in the wrong way, like in a terrible fashion, but like understandable kind of thing. Um, but yeah, Luffy was on point. Everybody was on point. There was actual like disaster. Like he literally created a Hunger Games type society in his island that he conquered, and it's like, dude, we've like never seen anything like that before. Because like for example, right?
Kanjuro and Fujitora, also new characters, great characters,
New
lovely,
characters
lovely
introduced.
best
Yep.
friends to be with forever. So
We are slowly being drip fed more information on Kiemon and what his story is leading up to.
him and his son
Um,
Momonosuke.
his son Momonosuke. But I really like the personally in the One Piece edit. I feel like Dressrosa had quite a bit of urgency. There was the constant mystery of the toys. There was the constant mystery of the Tin Soldier. When we found out what the mystery was, it was
So
the
good.
whole race to get everyone back on our side so we can fight the oppressors. There was just so much going on. There's such a great feeling of watching it, of like a pendulum swing of like our backs are against the wall, and then we gain a huge upper hand by reviving all of the toys, and then our backs are against the wall again because Don Quixote Doflamingo said no F you and created the bird
It
cage, and it's
definitely
just like
feels the most
incredible.
chaotic, like a
Definitely.
controllable amount of chaos.
And I just think it was masterfully done. And that is to say, personally, I had the most fantastic time watching Dressrosa in the One Piece edit, and I personally would put it right below Enies Lobby.
Oh, you're serious? It's a classic Spider-Man 2 moment. Okay, so I I'm gonna sound like a madman. I don't mean this to sound insulting in any way, but I feel like I don't have to explain why I don't want to put it above Marineford or Impel Down. But
No, you don't have to explain that.
so I'm gonna argue for why it should be below Alabasta.
Okay, okay,
So I'm willing to concede. I'm willing to possibly concede Alabasta, but
okay.
I want to fight for Alabasta right now.
All right, go for it.
Alabasta is like what if One Piece accomplished everything it wanted to accomplish in the same way that Dressrosa was able to, but it accomplished it at a time to the best possible extent that it could, and also it has a better ending, a more complete ending. Like if you finish watching One Piece there, you'd be
I
like, "That's the
good.
most beautiful ending I've ever seen." That's what the One Piece was about. It was about the friends made along the way.
Which is fair, but the reason why I would have to disagree is because I think that Gia Force is a lot better than Water Luffy. Number one, the fight was just way more epic. Number two, the reason why Alabasta feels more complete is because the way it ended. Dressrosa did nothing except set up more to bring more excitement down the line. So of course the ending isn't going to feel as complete, but I feel like everything that was located within that ending was better than what Alabasta was because of everything it proceeded to set up. Like having the Straw Hats, the is correct me if I'm wrong, but isn't this also where when does Big News make his statement?
That is whole cake.
Okay. So not there, but having the Straw Hat fleet get created is such an incredible moment. I'm like, holy flipping it. Like, Luffy has always been a guy, like, I will fight for you if you give me food, and I will fight for my friends. He straight up told them that I do not want you guys to fly under my flag. Like I'm just gonna do what I want to do. And they're like, okay, if you're gonna do that, we're gonna do that too. So Luffy literally got himself an entire fleet of people that will follow him without even trying. Like I just thought it. How do I explain this? Because I'm rambling
I
a little bit.
I feel like you're explaining it
I,
fairly well.
I really just think it's incredible the fact that like Luffy did not ask them to join; they joined because he's a great person and
Here's
pledged
what I'll
themselves to help him with whatever he needed.
here's what I'll
Follow him.
say about Alabasta versus Dressrosa.
Okay.
Alabasta is consistently like an 85 until the end when it reaches like a 95.
Okay.
Dressrosa starts out at like a C, slowly raises itself to about an average of 87, and then does a couple spikes of both like to 97 and 77. So it has some higher highs, but it also has consistently lower lows and starts out a
I
little
love
bit
this.
lower for me because of my experience. Like, again, I also, this is like, it is a little bit bloated. Like,
Mm-hmm.
Oda successfully did set up a Grand Fleet. But also, he also set it up by taking away from what could have been cool Straw Hat fights. Like, what was a Grand Fleet fight could have been a Robin fight. You know what I mean?
Right.
So, like,
I
Barto, as
yeah
lovely as Barto is, he took away a little bit from the people he had idolizes most.
yeah. If we're gonna be idolizing, if we're gonna be isolating, um, Dressrosa, then yes, I can see what you're saying for sure. Because I would say that the cool Straw Hat fights come later, but like we're talking about now, not later.
Yeah.
So I understand what you're saying.
I just think that, like, in the conversation of Dressrosa versus Alabasta, because I'm not gonna lie, man, I do not know how to conceptually try to talk you out of the idea that Dressrosa is somehow better than Impel Down or Marineford. That just sounds like an insane thing you would say over a ransom video to let me know you're in trouble. But like, in terms of Alabasta, like, I'm willing to possibly concede that Dressrosa is better than Alabasta, even though I would argue against it. Um, just
I
because, like, they're both so similar, I just feel like while Dressrosa has the ability to be more complex because it's created further down in the story, its complexity raises more issues that Oda isn't able to actively solve in the moment.
right. Okay.
I think he does a better job of it in an arc like Whole Cake Island that I would personally rate very highly. But like, I don't think that those are active writing techniques that he is trying to get better at the time. Because also, Dressrosa, not to say that he was an objective observer with no skin in the game, but like, part of, not to sound like I hate Naruto right now, but this is the one arc that Kishimoto helped write while Oda was partially in the hospital. So like, maybe that's the reason why I don't like it as much. Um, um,
Right.
I think it has its problems. I think it has its highs. I think it has its lows. Um, I think for where Alabasta was at in the context in the scope of the story, I think it is a better overall creative work than where Dressrosa's at in the story and how much it successfully accomplishes to the utmost extent.
Okay. I'll I will concede below Alabasta. Like that's still in the top, in the top five or
That's
top.
currently top five.
Yeah. So I'd be okay with that. I also think it's more of a personal pull for me watching Dressrosa because like as a guy who only knew about One Piece through what he saw throughout the years, Don Quixote do Flamingo was definitely a character I was aware of. And starting One Piece from ground zero in that sense and working my way up to seeing the one villain that I knew about, it was kind of incredible.
Yeah. Do you want to try to make one more argument for above Alabasta? Because I don't want to like say
No,
my
I
grades.
think it's good.
Okay.
Yeah, I think it's okay.
Okay. Okay. I don't want to, I don't want to yuck your yum or anything. So
Yeah, no, I get it. I get it. Like I said, it's not like incredibly heartbreaking because Alabasta is a fantastic arc.
it's out. I mean, it's
So
Alabasta, like flipping. You know what I
exactly,
mean? So
exactly.
okay. So here's these two are going to be Grant focused arguments where I'm just going to try to convince Jarrell to make this as high as possible because I love me some Zoe and Whole Cake. And then this is going to be where Jarrell convinces me to put it above anywhere near Alabasta. And I'm going to be like, haha, no way. And then this is like I don't even know. I don't even have like firm thoughts on what I think
Can
about
we even
Egghead.
rank that
Yes,
realistically?
yes, we can.
We can.
We can.
Okay.
So,
Okay.
Zoe. So let's start
Oh,
out.
you're right.
So Zoe is what even is there to say? Zoe is flippin' Rizo is safe. Zoe is the minx. Zoe is seeing Capone gang Beji. It is Sanji getting captured. It is Jack. It is the elephant
Edo.
whose name is
Zunisha.
Zunisha, thank you, is revealed that it is not Momonosuke Kiyemon's son, it is Kozuki Momonosuke, heir to the throne of Wano. It is the reveal that Momonosuke is a liar because he tried to make a claim that he actually was on Gold Roger's ship, even though Gold Roger was there 20 years ago. I love that moment. It's such like a I'm a little kid, I'm gonna make stuff up thing. It's so funny. Flip and love it. It is the voice of all things. Luffy and Momonosuke hearing the voice of all things. It is meeting Raizo and getting disappointed because he's not like Naruto. He's not a real ninja. Like that is so sick. What else is there? It is Nekomamushi's song. It is Nekomamushi and Ino Arashi. It is
Carrot.
Chopper in a football helmet. Um, what else is there?
Carrot.
Carrot, yes, sorry. I thought you said Erit. And I was like, are you trying to
No.
beatbox right now?
Every every
Erit,
every
Erit, Erit.
every.
It is Carrot, yes. It is, what's his face? Definitely not, Colonel Mustang from Fullmetal Alchemist Brotherhood. What the flip is his name? I'm a jaguar. I have one eye. My name is
Pedro.
Pedro. I'm terrible with names. I'm so bad. I'm the worst at names. I think of him as One Eye McGee.
When I'm McGee.
Truly. Cool smoking McGee. Because he lights his cigarettes with his own fingers. It's awesome. It is. That's kind of it, but like that's it's a great lore arc. It is probably my favorite lore arc that exists as a lore arc. Like, see, here's the thing. I would argue for probably like right above Post Tenny's Lobby.
Right above post in his lobby. I'm okay with that. Yep, let's roll with it.
Okay.
I love Zoe. Elephants are my favorite animals. Zunisha is the boy. Carrot is one of my favorite characters. We get to see a lot of Carrot. Pedro was cool. He got even cooler later on. Um, Everything that Grant said, I completely agree with.
Pretty cool. Whole Cake Island. Okay, so I'll So I'll explain this, and then you'll explain Reverie, and then we'll both explain Wano in the different
Okay.
acts, and then I don't know. We'll just scream whenever Egghead comes around to Egghead.
Okay.
So Whole Cake Island, flippin' bloody spectacular. Starts out with a bang. Immediately, Luffy almost dies. All of a sudden, you meet four, two people you've never seen before. Apparently, they're related to Sanji in some way. Then all of a sudden, Sanji is on a boat, and all of a sudden, flippin' Lola shows up. Except she's not called Lola; she's called Chiffon. And you're like, what is going on right now? Turns out that Lola is actually the daughter of Big Mom. So back in Thriller Bark, that connects back to here, and you're like, wait, does that mean that Nami has Big Mom's Viver card? I wonder if that's ever going to come back. I don't know. Then they get onto Whole Cake Island. You have Brook, Chopper, Nami, Pedro, Luffy, and Carrot, and trying to get Sanji. And you also have the best character in the world, in what's his face, Lion Turtle McGee.
Oh,
Yo,
Pickums.
Pickles, yes,
Pickums.
Pickles.
Yeah.
Just the best guy to ever do it. Just adorable. You have, oh, dude, I love Whole Cake Island. You have Luffy and the gang getting lost in the forest. You have him defeating the one of the three sweet commanders, Cracker. Gosh, just because he's white too. You have you have Luffy meeting up with Sanji on the way to Whole Cake Chateau. You have Sanji previously getting handcuffed by his four family members, and his hands will blow up if he doesn't do what they say. So he has to beat up Luffy. And then Luffy's like, I will not eat. My favorite thing to do, I will not eat unless it's you the one that feeding me, because I cannot be the Pirate King without you, Sanji. And it's just like, that is the coolest thing anyone's ever said to any person ever. And then you're like, oh man, but maybe Sanji's gonna be happy because he has Pudding, and Pudding's like the coolest character ever because she met with Luffy and Nami and and Nami and Chopper and Brook, and she was like so nice, and like that was so sick when they did in Chocolate Town. And then she rips out your heart, and you're just like, oh, I hate this, but I also didn't see it coming at all. But like, and then Maki from Demon Slayer's voice actress is just going ham, like so good, and she's ripping out your heart, and then you're like, oh dang! But then all of a sudden Jimbei shows up, and you're just like, yeah, that's my boy Jimbei right there. And then you have what's her face? You have Branch Bruley from the forest, where you have her whole mirror world, and then they're able to transport to the mirror world. They get Brook from Big Mom, and then they're like, we're gonna make a plan. And then all of a sudden, flippin' Jinbei's like, dude, I've already got you. No worries. Who are we meeting with? Capone Gang Benji, because we're gonna kill Big Mom. And then they dress up in cool outfits, and then you have the coolest character ever, the Caesar's cousin Gastino. I wonder if they're like, is crazy. Like, it's so cool. And then you have like this definitely foolproof plan that's definitely going to work out. If only there wasn't someone that had like, thank goodness there's no one on Big Mom's side that has future sight. Am I right or am I right?
Yeah, dude, that would be
That would be
terrible.
terrible. And then you have the whole wedding where it's like all this fancy setup. You have this character named Stussy, and then you have this dude named Big News Morgans. And then you
Big
have
news.
Big Mom with this random picture of this old lady, who she calls Mother, and it's like, I don't know who this is. I wonder if this is ever going to come up. And then you have the wedding itself, and then you have Pudding trying to shoot Sanji, but then he sees her eye, and he's like, oh, dang, baby girl, that's adorable. And then she just breaks down crying, and then she's like, ah, dang it, I've fallen in love with this man, like, actually. And it's just like, oh, it's so sick, because you feel so bad for Pudding, even though, like, she's a bad person, but, like, at the same time, is it nature versus nurture and how she was raised, and you're just like, oh, this is so sick. And then you have the breaking of the picture. Then you have Big Mom's entire backstory on Elbaf, where she killed a giant and apparently did nothing bad to all those children. It turns out Mother Carmel's a terrible person. And then you have running away from Big Mom, which becomes an entire act in and of itself. Now, granted, this is where part of the story takes a bit of a low point. I will give you that. This is not a perfect arc. Big Mom kind of just ends up saying wedding cakey like a million times.
Wedding cakey.
It's not the best, but at the same time you still get baller moments. Like you get, well, I forgot to mention objectively the best part in all of one, the second top 5 best parts in all of One Piece, which is Jinbei giving Big Mom the sake to say goodbye and officially join Luffy's crew. And you have life or leave, life or Jean. Like it's just it's so great because he does not fear. And then you have like Jinbei like riding the wave, like creating a whole like whirlpool, like to ride at like the cone to ride through. And then you have Carrot with the moon, and then you have, but then obviously the title fight, the title card fight, is Luffy versus Katakuri, and Luffy actually for the first time since the time skip having to actually actively get better at the fight. He is Snake Man, but also he's learning Future Sight in the moment. And you're just like, this is so sick because Katakuri is so amazing, and then Broly is so amazing. Like Broly becomes like a top 10 character in this arc, like of this arc, in this arc. And then you have leaving, and then you have Jinbei saying, "No, I need to help my boys." And then Luffy's like, "Yeah, but I'm your number one boy, right?" And Jinbei's like, "Yeah, I got you." And then you have Judge being like, "Sanji's like the nicest guy ever. Why do you like a guy like him? He sucks." And then Luffy's like, "Why'd your dad just compliment you?" And then you get Sanji's whole backstory again, like to go back to it, like all encompassing. Like Sanji's backstory is so sad. Am I missing? Oh, the death of Pedro. Pedro is an amazing character. You get the egg French guy, Sowaru. You get so many great things in Whole Cake Island. So many inventive things. You get Brooke calling Big Mom a young lady. You get him stealing a road poneglyph. The rubbing of it, like just so much, dude. Like it's peak. I don't like. What even is there anything you'd like to add? What would you like to add to what I just word vomited out?
I really can't add anything because that was like basically everything that encompassed Whole Cake Island, other than the fact that like I just want to reiterate how like strong the emotions are sometimes here because like I have cried a couple times to One Piece and have come close to crying like a couple times more, and this was another one of those times seeing Sanji and Luffy fight not because they want to but because they have to, and then Luffy proceeding to follow up that seeming betrayal with "I cannot achieve my dream without you" was just absolutely incredible. And Luffy, to this day, has only failed one vibe check in the history of his journey. And he continues to just keep passing vibe checks, and it's honestly quite a spectacle to see. Whole Cake Island is. The only bad part about Whole Cake Island is probably just waiting cakey for like 50 episodes straight.
It's a fair point.
Other than that, absolutely baller. Big fuzz.
Big Mufasa. Now, here's the thing. I would say, like, in the argument about the percentage pacing vibe wise of this arc, I think this arc rests at a solid 87 for like 80% of the way, and it has low and high dips in the third act. Like, I think this has the opposite problem of. Like, I think Dressrosa has a little bit of weird things in the third act and weird things in the first act with a pretty solid second act. I think this has a really amazing, flippin' stellar, best it's ever been, first and second act, and then kind of gets a little weird in the third act. I will say that this is not as spectacularly high highs as Dressrosa, but again, I would argue that it's more consistent in what it's trying to do than Dressrosa is consistent in what it's trying to do. I think Snake Man is sick. So where would you personally? I've started this off enough. Where would you personally put Whole Cake Island, Jarrell?
Mm. I think I would put Whole Cake above Arlong Park.
I will say this. If this was just my list, it would be going probably above Alabasta, maybe above Impel Down. But because you were willing to listen to me in my argument for Alabasta, and I do concede to the reality that not all aspects of Whole Cake Island is the best to have ever been. Wedding Cake is a bit disappointing for facing off against an emperor. I'm willing to concede for Arlong Park. I'm so sorry, Whole Cake Island, my sweet prince. That bums me out. But
Whole Cake Island is great.
It is great.
Whole Cake Island is great.
It is great. I agree. So, would you like to please explain to us what happens in Reverie, Jerome?
So Reverie, what does happen to Reverie? I know that my favorite part of Reverie is literally seeing everyone again. Reverie is a huge lore drop arc, which is incredible because we got Zoe not too long ago in the grand scheme of One Piece. What all gets revealed in Reverie exactly? You might have to tag team me.
There's a throne that no one's allowed to sit on.
The empty throne.
The empty throne by the 20 kings. The 20 kingdoms, I should say, because there might have been at least one queen among those kings. Am I right or am I right, fellow Egghead fans?
Fellow Eggheaders.
Eggheaders, I like that. So obviously, you get to see a lot of people. You get to see Sabo's stepbrother McGee. You get to see Garp. You get to see Shirahoshi and the Ryugu Kingdom royalty. You get to see Rebecca and the Tontada. Leo. Leo is one of my favorite characters of all time. Flippin' adorable. I love him. He's my favorite Legend of Zelda character I've ever seen. It's amazing. You get to unfortunately see St. Charlos again.
But very fortunately, we actually get to see, if I remember correctly, the guy who Queen Otohime saved. Yes,
I believe
Green
so,
hair?
because he is a Don Quixote Moscardo, is his name, to the best of my knowledge.
He is a celestial dragon that was actually shown mercy by Queen Otohime way back in the history of Fishman Island, who years down the line returns the favor when St. Charlos attempts to abduct Shirahoshi.
Yeah. So I would say there's also
which is really cool.
Just a bunch of stuff. We get to
see Abe Lincoln.
Yeah, that's true. That's a good point. We get a tease at apparently something happens at the Reverie that we don't know, and we get a tease as to who Green Bull is, because we have yet to see what Admiral Green Bull actually looks like, because Fujitora is there, and so overall, I'd say pretty fun time. Lots of definitely we're playing with the big boys now,
the big boys. I feel like I had more fun when I was watching it, but I can't really remember anything specific about it.
It's just a lot of oh my gosh, Shirahoshi and Vivi and Rebecca. Vivi is back. That's enough to put this above Marineford. You know what I mean? So
right, yeah.
So where would you place this, Jerome?
Because I'm not remembering a whole lot, and it's just cool factor, I would have to put it right below Zoe, I think.
I was gonna put it right above Thriller Bark.
Right
And my
above.
argument for that is that I consider
Okay.
everything above Thriller Bark and up to be an S tier arc, and I think of Reverie as a
Okay.
really solid A tier arc.
Okay. I was just gonna say it's not better than Zoe,
Yeah, but
so that's fine.
I do think that like it's not like Jaya in Post Denny's Lobby and Drum Island, like Jaya in
Yeah,
Post
I
Denny's
agree.
Lobby, like
You could
okay,
stop at Drum Island because I
okay,
just Drum Island is
it's
incredible.
Drum Island. Like it's also like
Right.
that's a real arc. Like this is definitely like a
It's a
flavor
mini arc. Like
tasting arc.
we finished. Did we finish Reverie and Zoe both in one day?
Yeah,
Yeah,
finishing Zone one day is so much fun.
it was so much fun.
So where are we placing Reverie?
Right above Thriller Bark.
Okay. Okay. All right. The big boys.
Welcome to the land of Wano.
Welcome to Wano Kuni. Um, Wano, the first two acts of Wano, is the best that One Piece has ever been. In my opinion. You get all of the Straw Hats all of the time. You get so much great tension. You get Luffy actually training and having to fight and get stronger. You have the land of Wano with its people and their struggles. You have just a rich culture that has been led up to for the past 10 years, ever since that little tease in Thriller Bark. And then that has simply grown out from there. You have Kaido. You have Useless Mid. You have the. You have.
Trafalgar D. Waterloo.
You have Law. You have Odin's retainers. You have Odin. You have Gold Roger's backstory with Odin, with Whitebeard. Quite possibly, probably my favorite backstory in the entire series. I adore it. Like, he laughed right there. Like, there's a reason why that's on. There's a reason why my Discord profile picture is Roger laughing. Like, that is. It's so good. So everything in Wano, Acts 1 and 2, immaculate, borderline flawless, phenomenal. If Acts 1 and 2 was its own arc, I would make an argument that it fits somewhere among 1 or 2. My problems begin to occur as an anime watcher for the most part. And also partly as a reader, that Wano becomes a bit uncontrollable, both in terms of its pacing and in terms of its story structure, in terms of maintaining a realistic amount of tension. Because it feels like Oda tries to do everything with Wano. Feels like he wants to have every single part. He feels like he wants to have his Smash Ultimate moment where everyone's here. But in doing that, where everyone gets a fight, everyone gets a moment, you get moments where Kiyomon has a fake death 3 different times in the course of the arc. Like 2 or 3 times at least. Where Kiku almost dies twice. Where there's like 2 deaths that actually happen where you're like, I don't feel anything because I just had 4 other fake out deaths in the span of the last 5 chapters. What is going on, Oda? But then you have Joy Boy. You have the Drums of Liberation. You have Luffy riding in on Momonosuke's head.
You have Yamato.
You have Yamato, where I like Yamato well enough, Yamatoden, but Yamato is a character with a lot of connections and a lot of desire, but obviously Oda wants to bridle that connection and desire a bit. And I applaud him for it. There's a lot of positives to Yamatoden, but there's just there's this lack of an it factor for me personally about Yamato that I just don't really know what to do with, which is why I'm not really going to have a lot to say, because I have my opinion, but also like I think of the whole situation as just like like there's just other like, it's not that I love every part of this arc and but Yamato's there, so therefore I like it less. It's that there are several problems I have with the third act of Wano, and also Yamato happens to be present, and also maybe a part of the reason why I don't like some aspects of it, if that makes sense. Two things, Jarrell. One, is what I'm saying making sense? And two, what would you like to add?
I think it's making sense. As a person who, again, started from ground zero and just knew about the spectrum of One Piece, finally making it to Wano was incredible. There's because around like this time, especially like around this time for me starting my One Piece journey, where the manga was, where the anime was, where as a anime fan who has not seen One Piece at the time, the most common thing you would hear is, "We're waiting for you in the land of Wano." So to finally have that feeling of, "Oh my gosh, I'm here," by golly gee, it was absolutely incredible. And then seeing the story unfold, learning the Red Scabbards' backstories, seeing how all of them are so incredibly different, but all of them united under this one man named Odin, who is very similar in ways to Luffy, and the Red Scabbards remind me of the Straw Hat Fleet in certain scenarios, and it's just like, it's just an incredible time. Not to mention, Grant already said, Joy Boy, and I'm gonna say I am a Yamato truther. I will put it here, cemented in stone. I still think that she will join the Straw Hat crew at some point. I'm just putting that out there. But
I'd be down for a Grand Fleet moment, but maybe leading a new generation of Red Scabbards. But
I think that would be sick. I feel like in some way, shape, or form, she will be involved with the Straw Hats come the final journey.
I'm not going to argue against that, but I do not want Yamato as a Straw Hat personally. That's a Vivi. That's a space for Vivi.
I would love Yamato as a Straw Hat
because there's an argument to be made that Luffy can still add one more crew member, and his original thing that he said at the end of chapter 1 still stands, where he's like, 10 people ought to do it, because right now we're at 10. But does that mean that he wants to add 10 people or have 10 people total? So, you know what I mean? So
just to say, yeah.
If that last person's there and it's between Yamato and Vivi, I'm just gonna be like pushing Yamato off of a cliff. Here you are, Vivi.
Right. Like, that's fair. And
that's my only thing.
Vivi is absolutely incredible. Grant and I had a conversation similar to this at a different time. To where I gave my reasonings for, granted, I'm a Yamato truther, but knowing Oda, there are a lot of signs that point in the direction of Yamato joining. However, Oda also loves throwing curveballs, so who am I to say, you know?
True.
But dialing it back, I think one is absolutely incredible. I'm going to base a lot of my ratings here off of spectacle, because at this point in the story, I would say Grant and I were really trucking along, like full speed ahead, kind of. So I really didn't experience any form of slow pacing, any form of waiting for the next chapter just to have it be another filler.
Of slow pacing. You experienced the one episode that we watched in the actual anime, and you were like, Grant, this is terrible, like pacing wise.
Oh. Yeah.
Like, remember that? Imagine that for 40 episodes straight.
That would have made it a little bit of a different story. But and Grant knows this, since day one, I had been waiting for the arrival of Joy Boy. And so finally seeing that blew my mind more than Gear Force did, blew my mind more than Talking Holy
As it should.
Flamingo. Like it was absolutely, I've said this word a lot, incredible. So like I thought about this a long time because I don't think we've technically ranked Wano yet in any of our
We have
lists.
not ever. I've kept it
And so
unranked
with that
because I needed to watch it again, experience it again.
being said, I think I'm a big moments guy.
Yes.
Do we do we let Water Seven and Indies Lobby sit atop its throne for a moment?
Yes, we do.
We do let that happen,
Yes.
even though the arrival of Joy Boy is here.
I'm not even willing to concede against Marineford. Maybe Impel Down. And here's
You're
my
not
reasoning.
really okay. Okay,
Here's my reasoning. I think that Water 7 in Ennie's Lobby deserves its flowers, not only because of every moment that it has. Like, if you want to go for hype factor between I Want to Live and Joy in Zunisha Joy Boy, like maybe sure if you're looking for a good TikTok edit, but like at the same time, in terms of thematic resonance, in terms of overall structure, in terms of like creating a perfect little nugget of a story to where if that's all you experience the best thing ever. I think Water 7 Ennie's Lobby blows many aspects of Wano's lesser parts out of the water.
that's a good point. But we also have episode 1015.
Episode 1015, well, here's the thing, is that episode 1015 is a perfect little nugget in an incomplete, in a kind of messy third act soup.
Mm, I see what you're
Because
saying.
there's four different countdown clocks. There is the Skull Island is about to hit Wano. There is the medicine is about to the
Take over the
Chopper
the
has to
Oni.
make the medicine. There is a fire's rampaging and about to kill everyone, and there's bombs about to go off. Four different countdown clocks at the same time, to where it just gets overwhelming. You get overstimulated, and it just makes everything feel like you're like, oh, okay, obviously none of these are going to actually go through, so like I'm just waiting for them to end, versus there being real tension. Like
I see what
I've
you're
seen
saying.
Ennie's Lobby Water 7 like 3 times now. Every time Robin is fighting for her life to run away from Spandam, I'm on the edge of my seat because it's a well exercised moment in tension and a fight for survival.
That's a fair point. That's a very fair point. I feel like if and wild enough to say, I feel like if stakes were even higher in Wano, it would have been better with less countdown clocks.
Yes. It would have been
Um,
better
or
with more of a what were you going to say?
I was gonna say, or if one of the countdown clocks actually like had a repercussion, because as far as I know, every single countdown clock was stopped.
Yeah.
Um, if it had an actual like let's say for example Yamato failed to stop the bombs from exploding,
Yeah.
and it actually took out like half of the island, half of our forces, we had a notable death or three.
Yeah.
That would have been incredible.
Yeah. Yeah.
But we didn't.
We did not, but here's the thing: is that Wano rides first 2 acts ride at a 95, and then it goes to and then I'll go this way, and then you have moments where it dips to 105, raises to 105, and dips to 70. You just get it looks like an earthquake happened. Like you're just like whoa 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 whoa. So I would personally argue for right below Impel Down. I'd be willing to concede for above Impel Down.
Mm. Because I know,
Because with
I was talking
Marineford,
big, but
because it's Marineford. Marineford is still the best to have ever completed it. Like, if Wano had less problems, Wano would absolutely be above Marineford. But, like, Wano's problems are non existent in Marineford.
Let's go with right below Impel Down.
Okay. Okay.
Because I started thinking more about Impel Down, and like Impel Down's also just
It's
absolutely
like it's
incredible.
Impel Down, you know. Like, you convinced me to put Impel Down there. Okay.
The return of Buggy and Bonchan is you can't beat that, man.
You really can't, dude. Okay, so
Okay.
I think we just both need to collectively scream for a moment because this is impossible to quantify. Like, I would be here for
Yeah.
an hour just telling you all the things that happened in here, but I will do my best to make it as truncated as possible.
This is the more recent stuff, so spoiler warning, even though we've already been talking about a crap
Ultimate
ton.
spoiler warning. This is full spoilers, obviously. Thank you for saying that.
Anime only, turn away.
Yeah, exactly, for sure. What is there to say, dude? Like,
Dude, Bartholomew Kuma.
okay, Kuma, Bonnie, Gear Fifth, Giants,
Rob Lucci.
Rob Lucci, Five Elders, Law versus Blackbeard, Kobe on the island, Garp's Galaxy Impact, Useless Mid versus Shanks, Kuma's entire backstory. You have Stella and the six satellites of Dr. Vegapunk. You get actual Vegapunk with the Stella.
Oh, more backstory into the Ohara incident.
Yes. Yeah. Clo D Over. Yeah, Dr. Clover is a Doctor Clover. Like,
We love to hear it.
crazy, dude. Like, it's actually.
Wasn't this also the reveal? Wait, hang on, because I'm starting to get
Yeah.
mixed matched on what was
Yeah.
Elbaf and what was Egghead. Was this not also the reveal of Nefertari D. Vivi?
Yes, dude. Yes, everything with Sabo probably killing Cobra. You have the reveal of Queen Lily. You have the reveal of, like, you have her getting smuggled away with Morgans. You have Lolucia Kingdom getting
You have
erased.
Emu
You have Emu. Like,
with the civil rights beam.
dude, I just like Egghead is insane. I think it gets a little bit too insane at the end for its own good. You have Joy Boy's backstory with Emeth.
And the
Dude,
big robot
Emeth,
boy.
dude, big robot boy, indeed. I think Egghead is wonderful. It's crazy. It feels like all of that thing that you wish that One Piece would finally be for like 20 years, and Oda's like, okay, it's the final act. I'm gonna do what I want. Nah, I'm gonna do my own
Yeah.
thing.
Egghead is the Thousand Year Blood War of One Piece.
Which is crazy because Wano exists and Marineford exists, and you're like,
Right.
that's
Right.
as good as that. But like, really, it's just like Oda just being like, Oda putting down the Rock Lee weights. Like that's what it feels like.
Just to put it in perspective for people who don't care about spoilers and are still watching, we literally see the five Gorosei fight.
We get to see a
Like,
Dune Sandworm fight.
what? Like, that is. They have done nothing but sit in chairs and speak for the
Yes.
entirety of the 20 plus years One Piece has been a story, and then all of a sudden they mobilize and go and fight Year 5. And it is like what? Like,
Crazy.
the ultimate way of showing, okay, no longer pulling any punches, things are serious.
I would say that this goes right above Alabasta.
I would put it above Wano, man.
Ooh, I wasn't gonna go that far, but frankly, I'm down
I
to
would
put
put
it
it
there.
above Wano because, like, we get Gear 5 body. And Kuma's backstory is absolutely incredible.
We get chapter
A
1107.
Buccaneer?
Quite possibly my favorite chapter in all of One Piece.
The Buccaneer Bartholomew Kuma talks about the hero Nika and why his daughter should that should be his
Kuma's
daughter's hero.
backstory is so sick.
He
Like,
just wants to save people and make people laugh.
man.
We find out how Kaido got his devil fruit. Like, Egghead is literally what the island is meant to be, and that is extremely futuristic out of this world.
Flippin' his entire thing, like, his entire message, Vegapunk's entire message, the Earth is sinking. Like,
we learned that the Earth is sinking. This is where you connect together that all the remnants of Roger's crew that made it to Laughtail have jobs that involve dealing with water. Like, it is, guys, like, if you can hear the excitement in my voice, dude, it is actually, like,
it's crazy.
It's crazy. You cannot
now,
quantify.
Okay, it's not Marineford, but is it better than Impel Down? Because it's kind of an Impel Down-esque situation in terms of how many people come back.
I would say yes, because, like, I think I'd have to put it above Impel Down.
Frankly am with you, personally.
Because, like, again, just for the simple fact of how powerful Oda made Kuma's backstory, and he had been setting it up. Kuma, as we know, was a man of few words. Very few words. Oda told us everything we needed to know without telling us anything. Kuma could have single-handedly ended our story back on Sabaody, but Kuma knew more than we did at the time. Of course he did. But, like, what the heck? It's still incredible.
The entire it's crazy. Like, it's crazy, right? Like, I think it's too crazy to properly conceptualize, which is why it's too much stuff to put in one single lore arc. But Oda did it successfully.
If Wano
is this the best lore arc?
I was just about to say, if Wano is the culmination of all of the action arcs, Egghead is the culmination of all of the lore arcs.
Wano's the culmination of all the action arcs so far.
So far. I feel like after Wano and Egghead, we've restarted the cycle with Elbaf, but I'm still looking forward to what Elbaf has in store, because not on the list yet, but we already have some crazy stuff cooking in Elbaf, that is for sure.
We have some insane stuff cooking in Elbaf, let me tell you. Let me save this. Download. Okay, good, I got it. Okay, so now, I'm happy with this list. Are you happy with this list?
I'm happy with this.
Okay, so before we end for the night, I'm going to do this real quick. S. Let me all caps it.
I think for that one you should do double S.
SS. Okay, so we're having a double S. Okay.
Here's the thing. So, like, that's a lot of tears if we do it like that.
1 second. I gotta move my mic real quick. Whoa. Okay. So those are our tiers. SS, A, S, A, B, C, D, and then One Piece doesn't have a bad arc. So, I know where the line I'm drawing for S is. That would be Long Ring Longland. Because I still think of Long Ring Longland as a joy to my heart. I would put it in S tier. And I'd put everything above it in S tier in some fashion. I would make an argument that maybe Skypiea through Thriller Bark is A instead of S. I'd be willing to concede with that. But at least Barate and up is S. But where's the line for double S for you, Jero?
Double S for me, I have to say the end of double S for me is Whole Cake.
Ooh, thank you for that.
You're welcome.
Okay, so One Piece doesn't have a bad arc. Those two go there.
I don't know. Syrup Village, not a bad arc though. S
So,
for me, I would say ends at where does it end for you?
either
Baratie, you
Baratier
said?
or Long Ring Longland.
I would have to say Baratie.
Okay, I'm willing to give that. I would say Return to Sabaody is a B though.
You think so? I would put it at A. I would say B starts Thriller personally. That's how I'm feeling, at
I would
least.
say Punk Hazard starts C.
Yes, yes. Orange Town starts D.
I would say all of these are C.
You think so?
I think there's nothing in D, and then One Piece doesn't have a bad arc for those two.
Okay. Okay.
Because C is like, it's a 7 out of 10. It's got a little something for everyone, to quote IGN.
Yeah, we do get introduced to Buggy, right?
Yeah,
Is Orange Town, which one's the dog? Is that Romance Dawn or is
that's
that
Orange
Orange Town?
Town.
Okay.
Romance Dawn is Kobe and Zoro.
In Zoro, gotcha. Okay. I'm satisfied.
Let me get rid of these. That way I can take a picture so
Look
therefore
at
it will last longer.
look at all of those double S arcs. You'd love to see it.
Dude, it's crazy, dude. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Wait, no.
I wouldn't even go
1,
as far
2,
as to
3,
put
4, 5, 6, 7. Yeah, okay, I'm counting correctly. Goodness.
if we had a triple S tier, I would stop it at Egghead. But I don't know if you want to make a triple S. We're good.
I feel like double S is enough personally.
Yeah.
Not for World War II reasons, but for ranking reasons. I am obviously against any and all forms of Nazism. Overall, I'm happy with this. I think that actually went by a lot smoother than I was expecting. Not that I was expecting tension, but I was expecting a bit more of like a I don't know what you mean, this is so sick from both of us, so.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like both of our points, we chose good points to try and concede to the other.
Yeah. If you had to change one thing from what you see, like one personal note or nugget, what would you do?
Dressrosa.
Where would you put it? Not that we're changing either, but I just want to know for fun's sake.
I would put it above Impel Down.
Would you put it in double S?
I mean, it's already in double S.
Well, yeah, but like, would you put it in triple S, I mean?
Would I put Dressrosa in triple
Or would
S?
you stop that at Egghead still?
I would stop it at Egghead still.
Okay, interesting. I would, what's funny is I'd put Whole Cake Island above Impel Down, but I'd also probably leave it at double S.
Double S?
That's hilarious. So it's just like our personal preferences.
Yeah, boy. That's crazy.
Oh, man. That's so funny.
And for those of you who are not at Egghead yet, but again, watch till this point, that just goes to show how insanely incredible Egghead is.
Egghead is crazy. Like, it feels like if the fizz of a root beer float was like a full meal.
Oh yeah, and it was very satisfying.
It was very
it filled
satisfying.
you up, but in the best way possible.
Yes.
Oh man.
Dude. What a great time.
If I could go back and read Egghead again for the first time, I would be living my best life.
Oh man, dude. All right. Well, I think that's all we got. I think that's all we need. Thank you so much for joining me, Jero.
Of course. And for those of you watching, we appreciate it.
Adios.